So there's a decrease in the overall population. If the population decreases, their buying power also decreases. Their workpeople, labor forces decrease, so their economy will go down. You know, every generation in China gives a problem to the other generation, communist China. Mao's Great Leap Forward made people go into poverty. This Deng Xiaoping's one-child policy has now brought them into a demographic disaster. So we should see where this rejuvenation of China dream by Xi Jinping takes them. On one hand, that fellow wants everyone to love China. On the other hand, he mocks everyone. So how do you think this will reconcile? The issue is China is being stretched militarily with military presence to protect its interests. Although playbook was okay with the first variant of that virus which came, which was not so lethal. We've seen it in the second wave in India, how it has just swept through India like a fire, forest fire. Sooner or later it will happen in China, and especially in China because they don't have vaccines. My guess is in the next 5 years, China will be a very different place than what we today envision.
Hello and welcome to Dev Talks. Today, it's a very interesting discussion that we're going to have. We want to find out who's China's biggest enemy. And to find that out, I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, a retired Director General of the Artillery, a strategic thinker and author of Gunnershot.com with more than 200 plus articles written on various different subjects. I've had the privilege of talking to him more than 15 times on, again, China and surrounding issues. Today, as I said, we're going to discuss who is China's biggest enemy. Before I begin, sir, I'd like to first of all thank you for the amount of research that you've been putting into the subject. It is something that has been missing in India, and that is my personal opinion.
Thanks a lot, Adi, for calling me over to the show once again. It's a pleasure to interact with you. At the outset, I'm very happy that all of us have started recovering from the COVID. The positivity rate is going down, and India will start looking up. And I also wish that everyone stays safe, despite the fact that it is going down. We have a virulent strain, and I wish my best wishes to every Indian to stay safe from the virus.
Absolutely, sir. And likewise as well, sir. I'd like to say this. China in the past year, of course, has been in the news quite a bit. There are two parts of the news. One is being paid by China, glorifying it, and the other one, which is coming across from the rest of the world, which has a lot of derogation towards China as well. The world has come to realize what China is. But does China actually realize that? Is China really that strong? One wonders what happens inside China, and that is something which is a story and a mystery for all of us. Is it really that prosperous, that balanced? Who is the biggest enemy of China? USA, India, Quad, Japan, Taiwan? Or let's just find out. My first question in this endeavor, sir. Internally, the Chinese have changed one big thing which is coming out is towards their demography. Is the three-child policy. It came out sometime last month. It seems to be a very, very impromptu decision from China. And of course, with the little research one, it is not very difficult to find out that people aren't very enthusiastic about it. What is your opinion, sir?
Before I start discussing the demographics of China and what are the issues, a few things I think we need to get into perspective. The first thing is that, throughout last year and for quite some time, China has been predicted to be the next superpower, a financial giant, military behemoth, and it is supposed to have the greatest military on earth. And they want to do the rejuvenation of the Chinese dream and all that. Okay, while that may be so, there are a few other things which have happened, especially since the COVID has come into place. Right? Certain things have moved fast forward. Till last year, everyone wanted China to succeed, even including the West. The events of the pandemic, the aggressiveness, the assertion of China towards all its neighbors, and the way it got into problems with India militarily, its wolf warriorism, and all that has put China at odds with everyone else, right? So from having being its growth being aided by others, it is now being impeded by others,
Mm.
right? Now, because of this, certain issues have taken place and certain issues have come forth. Some were intrinsic to China, some have developed, and these issues are now getting together and working in different directions. So we need to take a reality check. So, and one of the first reality checks is demographics, as you brought out. What is the issue about the demographics? One has to understand the three-child policy. Why has it come about? This all goes back to the one-child policy which Deng Xiaoping instituted long back. Now 30, 40 years down the line, in fact, half a century down the line, the number of people, the population of China has started shrinking. That's a fundamental because of the one-child policy, right? Now, there are three aspects to this. One, overall, the population has started shrinking. Now, because of the longevity of age and better medical facilities and all that, the median age has grown up.
Mm.
Okay. And the longevity of life has gone up. So, the number of old people have gone up. Okay. On the other hand, the number of working hands have come down.
Mm.
People are not getting married. There are no children. If there are no children, the number of working hands have gone down. Now, China had this demographic dividend where they had a whole lot of working people. They had a great cheap labor. Now, that cheap labor is going down. Since the old age is going up, young people are reducing and the younger people are not there. So, there's a decrease in the overall population. If the population decreases, their buying power also decreases. Their work people, labor forces decrease. So their economy will go down. And then on the other side, the old people, right? They have to be supported. There's no social support system in China. Okay, so it doesn't happen now. So they're struggling. How do you take care of these old people? They have to invest in them. They don't have money after all, right? The only way is you have more young people. See, for any population, the rate, fertility rate is 2.1 children per woman.
Mm.
In China, it has gone down to 1.3.
Yes.
The moment you hit 1.3, there is no replacement. Your population is definitely shrinking. China was hiding the fact, right, that their population was shrinking. In
Mm.
fact, that's the way many people feel so. Now, if your population is shrinking, old age is increasing, and young people are also decreasing, you need to have more births. As simple as that. So, a few years back, they introduced the two-child policy. Right. That was not working. Now they've introduced the three-child policy. Now, first and foremost, this three-child policy, if it is to take effect, it will take effect over the next 20, 25 years. Before that, nothing will happen. After all, if you increase the birth rate, till the time these people who are born come to a productive age, they are dependents.
Correct.
They are not going to contribute to the economy. Okay. For the next 25 years, this problem won't go. Even if you have a three-child policy, the problem will only become bigger for the next 25 years. That's the first thing. The second problem is that the people who are marrying are lesser. There are 30 million spare males in China, unmarried. Uh, it is unaffordable to have a child in China, leave alone 2 children. 3 children is a far cry. If you want to have the third child, you have to incentivize people to have births. Now, if you incentivize women to have more children, that means the workforce is reducing.
Yes.
Because those children, so it's a trap they are caught in. This three-child policy is all bunk. They will not. So, and that is going to have major issues down the line economically. They're not getting people for the military. As it is, they have reduced the qualification criteria for PLA
Yeah.
in terms of height, sight, hearing. Now, if you're going to have an unfit army, where would you go? What's most interesting is that South China Morning Post has come out with 16 articles in series about demographics. I've never seen it so far. So that's how difficult it is, the demography, and this is their hand down, legacy from the previous generation.
Mm.
You know, every generation in China gives a problem to the other generation. Communist China, Mao's Great Leap Forward made people go into poverty. This Deng Xiaoping's one-child policy has now brought them into a demographic disaster. So we should see where this rejuvenation of China dream by Xi Jinping takes them.
Isolation.
Yeah.
That's the only word one comes to mind.
I
Actually.
wouldn't say isolate. Yeah, wherever, because we don't know. This whole story has not played out as it.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Sir, you also mentioned the wolf warriors, in the middle,
Yeah,
and Chinese were using these wolf warriors to a very, very, I would say, quite an effective way in their perspective. I mean, we could see the holes in their story, but they saw it and they put it across very aggressively. Recently, we heard a news that the chairman Xi has himself come out and said that the wolf warriors need to be put on some kind of a leash. We have seen the tone kind of slowing down, but yeah, of course, with the G7 and this and that, it was back to kind of an aggressive this thing. But one does see a bit of a change in in their press briefings and stuff like that. What do you think is the background for this, and what are they trying to achieve?
what has wolf warriorism done to the Chinese? We have to understand that.
Mm,
Like I said earlier, it has antagonized people. It has increased the assertion and the aggression against China. Right. So as a result, people who wanted to be with China are no more with China.
mm,
Like Australia had great interaction with China, trade ties. Now it's at an all-time low. Okay. So now they want to change the thing, to say, okay, let's become goody. And they're finding that, because of this antagonism which they've instigated in others, because of this wolf warriorism, right? They need to correct the whole situation so that their economics grows. Otherwise, their economics won't grow.
mm,
It's as simple as that. Their image has to be better. If they continue in this whole story of aggression and wolf warriorism, sooner or later, this debt trap diplomacy and things like that, sooner or later, everyone will go against them. And then they have to do trade. At the end of the day, economy won't function if you don't have good relations.
mm,
They've gone and antagonized India, right? Their biggest market. So there are a lot of issues, and they've gone and antagonized China, USA, from where they have to get their technology X, Y, Z. So suddenly they're feeling that. But then, like somewhere I read, uh, this is a wolf in a sheep's cloth. That's what they're trying to achieve. I don't think it will go anywhere.
hmm. But do you think actually the Chinese can? It's in their mind. Do you think that they can actually achieve a change in narrative by just changing the way that their diplomats interact with the world? I mean, is it that simple?
I don't think so. Look, on one side they said wolf warriorism shouldn't be there, and image and all that. On the other hand, how have they mocked G7?
Yeah.
With that, cartoon of the 12 apostles of Christ. How have they mocked India?
Mm.
On one hand, that fellow wants everyone to love China. On the other hand, he mocks everyone. So how do you think this will reconcile? Okay. So let's be very clear. Their image will take a big beating.
Mm.
And that is irretrievable today.
That is true,
Okay.
sir.
Unless there's a new leader who comes and changes the whole story.
It's a good thought, I must say. So.
Yeah. They'll be forced to think on those lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yes. Sir. I think that's the underline where they are forced into a decision that the world wants them to make,
Yeah,
because otherwise it's kind of impossible to kind of to push them into a corner of any sort. So, the Chinese have been known for opening fronts all around their borders. They've got disputes with more countries that they actually have a land border with. But there is another sort of a front which is opening up in Afghanistan. We've talked about this before on another forum as well.
talk, yeah.
Um, my main thing is that if they are actually going to, not say open a front, but actually militarily support or occupy the area in contention with Afghanistan, they are going to be spreading themselves a bit wide with their actual commitments right now itself. With a dwindling army, talking about chocolate soldiers and so on and so forth, which goes around the place. How feasible do you think this is for China militarily?
See, let's look at it from a slightly different perspective.
Mhm.
Afghanistan, and I'll will widen the perspective. The first thing is any power which wants to be a superpower has to be having a military presence all over,
Mm.
because that military presence has to take charge of their interests. At some point of time, military power has to be deployed to take care of your economic interests.
Mm.
The British Empire did it, the Russians did it, USA did it, the Roman Empire did it
Mm.
long back, the Mongols did it. It was a military conquest which brought economy.
Yeah.
Okay. Similarly, if you are going to spread your economy, you need military presence to ensure that the economy pays you back or your economic thing spreads. So that's there. So far, China has avoided that. But there will come a time where China has to protect its
Mm.
interests.
Mm.
So the first indication of that is coming in Afghanistan, where USA is left. There's a vacuum. Unless someone steps in there, unless China steps in there and ensures it's the protection of its interests, it's going to lose out.
Mm.
Of course, there are other issues of extremism coming into Xinjiang. There are copper mines which they've taken in Afghanistan. That's not the issue. The issue is China is being stretched militarily with military presence to protect its interests. That is the point. Okay. That is just a start and it will go on. This is only the first point. They also have something in Djibouti.
Mm.
Maybe tomorrow, day after, they have to spread. Now, the moment you start spreading your military empire, it's expenditure,
Mm.
economy. Okay. Okay. Now, so you link this up with the demography and the wolf warriorism. Your economy is not growing. Whatever your economic interests are, you have to protect for that which you have to spend. And your military doesn't have the kind of feed because your demographic are going, and your internal demography is economics are going bad because of the demography and your old age people whom you have to support. We just spoken of three issues. You add viral, then you see the fun.
Mm. Seems like the shopkeeper is not going to have any customers, sir.
Yeah, there's a problem. There's definitely a problem with China.
Mm.
Yeah.
It won't happen that easy, because at the end of it, even if the G7 so-called has taken a decision to try and mend their supply lines and this and that, it'll take 3, 4, 5 years for
No, no.
anything to move.
I'm not talking of immediate occurrence.
Mm.
Immediately, nothing will change.
Yeah.
These are long-term projections.
No, why am I?
Demography also, the way demography is going to pinch into your economy will take 4-5 years.
Mm.
The way they're going to get stretched militarily also will take 4-5 years. Nothing is going to happen immediately.
Of course.
Events have to happen, right? This wolf warriorism and decoupling and isolation also will take time.
Mm.
But the point what I'm trying to make is in the past 1 year, look, 1 year back, did these issues come to your mind about China? No. But today you are discussing it. And henceforth, they'll only become worse. Demographics won't change. Okay. Their military stretch won't change. They have to shed blood. Will they accept body bags? Single child? So there are a lot of issues.
That is there, sir. And that's what I'm trying to say. Sir. The Chinese have been termed as the people that look 50 years, 100 years ahead. And it's always that impression that India has with them. You know, Chinese are great thinkers and this and that. One thing begs a big question. If they are such great thinkers, didn't they see this big hole coming in front of them, sir?
I don't think so. I mean, I refuse to believe that they're long-term thinkers. And this is what I have always maintained. It's one thing to say that I think deep and I am a civilization and I'm A, Y, A, B, C. Other thing is what is the thing on ground? On ground, they're not. Like I told you, Mao Zedong, he started the Great Leap Forward. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
In one generation. The one-child policy is again a disaster. Right? And this rejuvenation of China dream, wolf warriorism and all that is a disaster. The virus is a disaster. I mean, we can discuss about the virus.
Yeah. That's actually my next question to you, sir.
Yeah.
The lab leak theory, you know, before we get on to the Chinese internal situation, I wanted to ask you, this lab leak theory may it be possible, may not be possible. There are new videos which have come out which shows bats hanging in that lab and so on and so forth. So there is something to it. I mean, they might not have put it out as a biological weapon, but there is something to it. One can actually try and see. And the so-called Batwoman actually gave a interview yesterday, you know, rubbishing all the claims and stuff like that. If they were so clean, why would they come out and, you know, rubbish claims like that? There has been a lot of contradiction. How do you think this whole viral politics, which is playing up in the world, and that is something that anybody is going to pick up the gun and point at China? How do you think the Chinese are going to react to this?
Say, Chinese will react by saying, no, it's all rubbish, all that. That's not the issue. The issue is whether it's proven or not, whether it's official or not. The perception in the global population is slowly growing that it came from China.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. And in any population which is inimical to them or where because they've been affected by wolf warriorism will start hating China. Slowly the blame will go on China for this. Which last year people said, no, it might not be China, it must be natural. If it is unnatural, people will start suspecting China and it's the image of China which will go down. Loss of face. And this will stick. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, I'm sure you would also have an opinion on it.
I mean, I personally feel that all the Chinese want in the world is to be respected as, you know, they're Chinese.
The great people, yeah.
Yeah. So with this kind of this thing is going to mark a big dent in their respect.
Yeah. I mean, look at it from the normal human being, armed army on the street, anywhere. He looks at China and he'll say, oh, this guy is the ones who originated the virus. So they'll be shunned, you know. There are a lot of psychological issues which are going to come. It will hit the Chinese.
Yeah.
And that will have an impact. We don't know how it's going to have an impact. How it's going to impact and economics and demography. That will have its own course.
Of course.
With the next generation, will it be ostracized? We don't know. That's dangerous, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the loss of respect is, for anybody, it's a big thing. But Chinese take it a little too personally as well, sir.
Yeah. And the other issue about this virus business, you see, China has made virus as a diplomatic effort and how they've controlled the virus, etc., etc., etc. But their vaccines have not, done well. Whether it's in Seychelles or UAE or Bahrain or in a few other places, Brazil, the vaccines are not great. Okay, that's proven. On the other hand, the variants are more transmissible problems and all that. So their population is vulnerable because the vaccines are not this thing. Now what has happened in Guangzhou? There have been an outbreak fresh outbreaks of the new variants, the more transmissible and the lethal variants, the Delta Plus variants have come up in China also. Which means a whole lot of lockdowns and testing and the mass testing, like, all that will start. So their old playbook, कि so testing karo, vast testing karo, lockdown karo, all that will come under strain again. All those playbook was okay with the first variant of that virus which came, which was not so lethal. We've seen it in the second wave in India, how it has just swept through India like a fire, forest fire. Sooner or later it will happen in China, and especially in China because they don't have vaccines. You don't have vaccines, there's a variant, and how long can you keep controlling people? It will go through. And then if they had managed to still control it through draconian measures of lockdowns and extended lockdown, XYZ, their economy will suffer.
Yeah.
Right. Now you have to again see others what's happening. USA, vaccinated, coming out, economy booming. India, whatever has happened. Hereafter, it will only go up.
Yeah.
I mean, we know how to handle the third wave. We know how to, increase your own vaccination. All that, it will start going up. Big economies will start coming up. At that time, China is in a problem. And Zhang Noshan, who's their equivalent of Fauci, they said if China is not vaccinated and others are vaccinated, it's bad for China. He knows it. They know it. They have admitted their vaccines are not good.
Yeah.
So they are in a problem, and they are in a big problem in this whole mess. This will impact their economy directly. So again, you look at it, demography in one direction, wolf warriorism and image in one direction, military thing in one direction, virus politics in one direction, and the effect of the physical effect of the virus in another direction. I mean, nothing is going in the same direction. No? So one has a cross effect on the other. So that's a problem.
A big one, sir, might add.
Yeah.
And actually, another thing I'd like to say about the virus situation within China is they're still closed. On the 7th of June, they took out an advisory that till the 30th of June, everything is closed. There are no flights going inside except for people who have residency permits.
Not only that, even outside businesses functioning in China are having a problem because of this virus.
Yeah.
That's the latest report in South China Morning Post. See, again, a year or two back, whatever came out of South China Morning Post was a balanced reporting. In the past 1 year, ever since Jack Ma has taken over South China Morning Post, and Jack Ma has been put on the sidelines in his own company, you find that the South China Morning Post is slowly drifting towards a Chinese narrative. Even for that, to say that people outside their businesses are going to get hit means something. So there's going to be a problem. I see problems ahead for China.
Sir, lastly, I'd like to ask you, there's a bit of a challenge with regards to a nuclear plant that actually came out close to Guangzhou again, affecting the entire area of Hong Kong, some parts of the Taiwan Strait even. Now, one thing, China has about, I think, 67 or 70 nuclear reactors up and running. They've put up another one in Pakistan, which is supposed to be 1100 megawatts. Safety and security has been a big question with the Chinese. And here the French actually came up and said, there's a problem here. We need to sort this out. Chinese increase the levels of radiation and this and that. Now, what impression, again, as what we were talking about, the Chinese image is coming out to be
Technology.
A world polluter rather than...
See, forget polluting their whole world. Yeah, they're polluting themselves. So all this great talk of technology and safety and all that is this thing. Now you connect this with the virology.
Yeah.
Safety level in that lab was weak. That's why there's a leak. So same way this safety level in this is weak. There's a leak again. And Chinese feel that the safety level is okay, whereas the French say no, it is not okay. In that Wuhan Institute, there was no one to check them. So it must have leaked. There's a linkage, their own thing, So that is how it is.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I was trying to create a, and you said it very rightly. There is a link between both.
There is a linkage of their culture, of their safety culture, their corruption and everything. That's how all these things happen. right? I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if something goes wrong with another nuclear plant. We don't know.
It's just scary. This
All
thing.
the best to them.
Yeah, all the best to them, sir. But there's another discussion that was actually happening, and I was going through this where these guys were saying, let them have a nuclear incident, but let them not screw around with viruses anymore, because
Yeah.
when they have a nuclear incident, it's a localized affair. They have to clear three,
Yeah,
four
but
hundred square kilometers. But
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there. But well, whichever way you look at it, China comes under a question mark.
mhm. I think, sir, this has been a very, very nice, short, crisp, and very, very concise discussion about who's China's greatest enemy. And the only answer,
Yeah, only answer is
China.
China. Yeah, but there's another issue which I would like to put across. In this why this whole thing. You see, this G7 has happened, Quad has
Hmm.
happened. Biden has gone to NATO, and NATO has now given remarks against China
Yeah.
to contain China and all that. Now, what are you seeing in all this? The common thread is there is some structure evolving which is outside China, where China is being excluded from international and other international structures and mechanisms are coming which are not China, devoid of China. So that's also there. And why has all this come up? It is because of China. So it just reinforces what you say. Who is the biggest enemy of China? China itself. If I put it, it is China versus China.
I think, yeah. The main thing, sir, again, Chinese actually took over a lot of the international institutions by hook and crook methods. Even the WHO, a lot of people say that this gentleman has been, put across. And Chinese had a huge role. If you go back, they had a huge role in his election at that time. So what you're saying is there is an alternative to all the regular set organizations which are supposed to control these kind of affairs, which is being
Which are
created
coming
by
up
the
now.
world bodies.
Yeah, in some form it will come up, right?
Mm.
And see, you take all these 6, 7 factors. We spoke of exclusion, we spoke of viral politics, we spoke of the effect of the virus, we spoke of image, we spoke of wolf warriorism, we spoke of demography, and we spoke of the military overstretch. All these will run their course. You can't stop them.
Yeah.
They're autarkic. And they are not in consonance with each other. In fact, they are cross purposes with each other. Now, look, when I used to talk of all this, we are not talking of CPEC, we're not talking of Pakistan, we're not talking of BRI, we're not talking of pollution, we're not talking of their food security, we're not talking of their environmental challenges or climate change or other issues. Those
Floods,
problems of
protests.
China are there, pollution, A, B, C. This is over and above all that. We are not talking of competition, we are not talking of enemies, we are not talking of adversaries, markets, nothing. I've not discussed their economics. And all these are unknowns.
Correct.
My guess is in the next 5 years, China will be a very different place than what we today envision it.
Mm.
Yeah, today it still is a superpower or near so, right? But I have my reservations about that, but I'll still go with what is publicly reported. Uh, but there's a change happening, and that change has come in the past 1 year. And what's ahead, you'll see a different story coming out.
Actually, to sum this up, sir, I absolutely agree with you. These 4, 5 things that we've spoken about, there is not one thing that actually the Chinese can do to change this. Yeah, they can call for a leash on the wolf warriors. They can have a three-child policy, but these are stuff that will only take some time for it to affect if it does actually happen. It's not something
Yeah,
which is overnight. So they are going to face these challenges. These are the big holes in their road, and their car is just going to go over it. What actually happens remains to be seen.
we don't know.
And I think the general brought it out very, very nicely. China versus China, or as I said, who's China's biggest enemy? It's not the US, it's not India. I mean, to an extent, yes. It's not the Quad, but I think China's biggest enemy is China itself, because it's not going to be able to wade away with these issues that we've just highlighted just by blinking an eyelid. That's exactly what the Chinese have been doing till now, especially the image factor, the respect that the Chinese have lost. which means a lot in the Chinese tradition because they call themselves one of the oldest, cultures in this world and so on and so forth. So when a culture like that lose respect, there's going to be repercussions. Sir, thank you so much. I think this has been a brilliant discussion where we are talking about something which has not been spoken about for a long time because all these topics have been discussed separately by a lot of people. But when you put them all together, it gives you a very different picture of what China is. Of course,
Yeah,
a lot of
I agree
money,
with
a
you.
lot of power, a lot of debt trap diplomacy that is going their way even now. But having said that, it's not as virulent or it's not as strong as one actually pictures it out to be. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot, and welcome.